Well. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Welcome to our Coffee and Conversation group afternoon meeting. So my name is Craig, and I'm one of your recovery coaches here at Capital Recovery Center. And today we're going to be discussing some common language that's, I believe, that's oftentimes heard quite often. You have heard it quite often, but I believe it's basically being overlooked, and that is uh, what we're going to be talking about. And in this meeting is the impact of people, places, and things and addiction. The impact of people, places, and things and addiction. This is our coffee conversation meeting. And so, as always, we would like to acknowledge where we get this material from. And so today, this material is brought to you by rehab.com. And so I'm going to read a little introduction and we'll get right into it. So it says, the impact of people, placing things, and recovery process. When you're reading information pertaining to addiction, it doesn't take long before you encounter the phrase people, places, and things. But why are these so important, and what do they have to do with addiction and recovery? Right? It says the people, places, and things you experience every day play a vital role in encouraging or discouraging substance use, no matter the stage of addiction or recovery. If you want to remain substance free, you must make some changes to the people, places, and things with which you normally engage. So the article said if you want to make changes, you have to first want to make changes. And that first of all starts with your perception and those who you allow to be in your circle, or that allowed, or things that you place yourself in. That is people, places, and things. All right. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about triggers for substance use and relapse, right? Triggers for substance use and relapse. The phrase people, places, and things refers to triggers, all right? The phrase people, places, and things refers to triggers. Triggers are the problematic cues that lead to craving, which is a strong, often overwhelming desire to obtain and use substance abuse, right? And so the article goes on to say people, even animals, learn to respond to triggers through a process called conditioning. Not only people, but oftentimes they did a experiment dealing with animals, and as the article says, we both learn to respond to triggers through a process called conditioning. Listen to this, very important, conditioning, right? It says, in the famous experiment, a scientist named Pavlov rang a bell each time he fed a dog. This is a a psychiatrist who did a psychological experiment, and he did it with by ringing a bell. All right. And it says, Pablo rang a bell each time he fed a dog. The dog learned to associate food with the bell. So whenever the bell rang, the dog came to expect food, as indicated by an increase in salivation whenever it heard the sound. So if you own a pet, especially a dog, if you notice it not, when it comes to treats or food, and you withheld it for a while, they anticipate you going to feed them. And so Pavlov did it, and so the dog oftentimes salivated. And this experiment is well known as conditioning. And so that applies to people as well. We have the conditioning. So let's see what it further go on to read. It said, People, place, and things triggers develop in the same way. The high of drugs and alcohol, like the dog food, produce a strong, rewarding sensation. And since the brain is programmed to seek out and repeat rewarding activities and remember every detail, such as the bell, about the experiment. These details include, and this is talking about people who have similarity, rewarding sensation. And there's 4 points, 5 points they want to read. It says, these details include who you are with, what you are doing, where you are, what time it is, and how you were feeling before and are feeling during use. With the association established, the people, places, and things are strongly connected to drug use, and your brain began to expect the drug when a trigger is present. We're talking about the impact of people, places, and things, and how the brain works and how we perceive certain triggers. And certain trigger produces craving. We're talking about conditioning, reward, sensation, right? So when it comes to the people, the article goes on to talk about your people triggers can include a surprisingly wide range of people from your past and present. Remember, a lot of times, if we uh, feel that once we come out of a detox or residential treatment, whether it be short term or long term, we have to always remember that our previous associates or who we call friends who are maybe still using, those are the people that we will have to refrain from until they get themselves together. Then we can be on equal uh, playing field. All right. And so it says your people triggers can include a surprisingly wide range of people from your past and present, like your parents. It goes on to say your parent, sibling, other family members, both living and deceased, current or former romantic partners, right? Co-workers, people with whom you use, people from whom you bought drugs. And so what stood out to me out of these bullet points from people in the past and present, and it could be current or former romantic partners. All right. And oftentimes, if we reflect back, and so I am in recovery myself, and so oftentimes I reflect back on some of the romantic relationships or partners that I entertain when it comes to girlfriends or past in the past, and not glorifying my addiction, but a lot of times they can be triggers. They can remind you of an event or a time that we spent together, things that we used to do and say, and how we responded. And so those are conditioning triggers that can remind us, send messages to the brain, which is a craving for reward sensation. People triggers don't include only those who were present when you use. They are also the important people in your life who are capable of creating strong emotional responses. Wow, that is so powerful because a lot of times, if we're not careful, uh, especially when it comes to emotions, if we don't have our emotions, behaviors in check, our anger issues, our emotional control in check. A lot of times, it don't, like the article said, it don't have to be people from the past. It could be people in the present. You ever heard that term? People can push your button, and then if you allow someone to push your button, you can respond accordingly how you are perceiving and thinking at the given time. Come on in. What's up, man?
How you doing?
Long time no see. Got that right there. All right. I forgot your name.
Giovanni?
Giovanni, welcome, Giovanni. My name is Craig. You probably forgot my name as well. So it's good to have you here, man. So today we're talking about the impact of people, places, and things in addiction. All right. And so I'm on the second page in the back. And so I'm going to read what it says, the places, right? And so we just went over some of the things of people who we can avoid or people who can cause us to relapse. And so I went over, it says your parents, siblings, other family members, both living and deceased, current or former romantic partners, co-workers, people with whom you use, people from whom you bought drugs. And so at the bottom sentence, it says, people triggers don't include only those who were present when you use. They are also the important people in your life who are capable of creating strong emotional responses. And so I was just telling the audience out there in virtual land is that, a lot of times we may be working on our sobriety, staying sober. Sometimes people can say something or do something that can upset us, and we may respond in a negative way. So we have to always remind triggers, absolutely triggers. So we're gonna go to the places, right? And so the places says many of the places that trigger you will make perfect sense. If you drank heavily at a certain bar for many years, you will likely be triggered by that bar. However, others may surprise you, and there is no way to accurately predict all triggers. Depending on your habits and type of substances used, place triggers can include alleys or abandoned buildings, fields and wooded areas, bars and clubs, your childhood home, pharmacies, doctor's office, parking lot, a friend's house, concert venues, or sport stadium. I know for me, some of my triggers are old friend houses, where we used to go and sit around and it'd be cold outside. We try to get some heat and we go in there and use drugs. Concert, I remember going to concert, we smoking marijuana and doing other drugs, hardcore drugs, and we thought that we was having a grand time. So I don't know any of these that you can say that could be a trigger for you, Giovanni. Which one you think could be a trigger for you?
Your friend's house?
Friend's house, the same, right? Absolutely. A lot of times, that's where we talk about people, places, and things. All right. And so we're going to go on and we're going to talk about the things. We dealt with the people, we dealt with the places. Now we're dealing with the things. All right. And so the article says the largest category thing triggers include everything else that creates craving. Things can be drug paraphernalia, a movie, an album. I don't know if you're familiar with albums, you're kind of young. So that's the little vinyl thing. They play the records. Oh, okay. You're young, man. So that's around my area. That's all we have. We have this and all that. So you feel me? All right. So it says a certain day of the week or a food, for example. It says thing triggers also include all patterns like going to a party. That's major. Studying for a test. Wow. Holidays. That's another one. Anniversaries. Eating. Sex. Getting paid. I know when I used to get paid, I feel like I need to celebrate. So I said, well, I got paid. I got money. Take a little bit of money over here and go do this. And so those are triggers as well. Feelings like high stress. Sometimes when I used to get high stress, or anxiety, happiness, and excitement, boredom, sadness, lonely. Now, all those feelings right there, I experienced every last one of those. Every last one. High stress, anxiety, going to court, stressed out. I might be on work at the work force. I might not like the job. I might be, frustrated with the manager. You know, everything that was going on during that day. Happiness, excitement, like I was saying, getting paid. Being at a birthday or party, boredom. I'm sitting around, ain't nothing to do. I'm bored. Sadness. Et cetera, et cetera. Another experience that has the potential to produce severe craving is withdrawal. Wow. Rather than a psychological trigger, the experience of withdrawal is a physiological trigger. When you have been regularly using a substance, your system comes to depend on it. If the drug is no longer available, you will often experience a set of symptoms that may be, at best, uncomfortable or, at worst, life threatening, and will strongly crave the substance without the need for an external cue. As a means of putting an immediate stop to these symptoms, withdrawal triggers can be intense, but they are time limited and more predictable than some other triggers. Withdrawal triggers can last just a few hours following last use, while others can persist much longer. Professional detox programs are set up to ally the suffering of this experience, help you to avoid relapse, and prepare you to further work on your recovery, ideally through continual treatment. And so the article says not only some of the triggers or craving, they don't always have to be a psychological one. They can be a physiological one. That is the physical aspect. We know psychological is the mental, physiological is the physical. And so a lot of times we can have physical withdrawals, and so sometimes we need detox. And for those who may be watching, and back in the day, they used to do the old way of detoxing, where someone would stay home and go through all the physiological pain and suffering. And so we in the professional field of recovery, we suggest that you seek professional help when it comes to a detox. And so we are here as recovery coach to assist in that process. Once again, everyone, we're talking about the impact of people, places, and things in addiction recovery. This is our coffee and conversation meeting. And so we love to bring you some good coping material so that if you're feeling some type of way, or if you're going through any of these psychological cravings or physiological cravings, please contact someone immediately so that you can get some help. All right, let's go on to the next one, Giovanni. The dangers of triggers and cravings. People, places, and things trigger pose a real risk. Each time a person consumes a drug, the odds of serious consequences increase. Drug place tremendous stress on your body, and even single doses can result in unwanted short-term effects such as poor attention and memory. So we're talking about the dangers of triggering and craving, right? And so they can cause poor attention and memory, confusion, impaired coordination, slurred, slurred speech, vomiting, chances to your heart rhythm, changes to your heart rhythm, seizure, and coma. And so it's oftentimes we say anytime we use drugs is a mind altering substance. And so a lot of times it affects us in so many ways that especially when it comes to concentration, especially come to learning new things that can normally, without the suffering, would become more easier. But now that we're under the influence, this is more of a task. It's an added burden. So the article says there are dangers of triggers and craving. Drugs also affect your judgment and ability to make good decisions, which can lead to inquiry, injury, legal issues, and other negative consequences. And I know, like Giovanni, when I used to work for the warehouses, and I used to drive forklift, and so one of the things that OSHA, who oversees all equipment dealing with whether it's manual or pneumatic, electronically, you have to be trained on safety. And so they used to show us these videos that when you don't get enough rest, if you're under the influence, you can cause damage not only to yourself, but also someone else or to the property. So they made sure they drilled the importance of safety. And so this is along the realms of safety, of being healthy, so that you don't come across some of these ailments that we've talked about already. They say these risks only get more serious as used and prolonged. Dangerous effects of long-term drug use include heart disease, stroke, cancer, HIV and AIDS, hepatitis and other liver disease, lung disease, emergence or worsening of mental health condition. And so a lot of times people don't believe or don't take the seriousness of when they talking about drugs. It's really dangerous. Even I don't know if you ever smoked cigarettes, but if you ever picked up a pack of cigarettes, they let you know on the side of a pack of cigarettes by the Surgeon General that these cigarettes can cause lung cancer, right? Lung cancer and all these things like that. Even when people sniff cocaine, because it's a stimulant and it has your heart rhythm in an abnormal beat. So sometimes when you hear people overdose, sometimes because their heart has been placed under so much stress. Right? The biggest danger of any substance use abuse is death from overdose. Wow. It says more than 64,000 people died from a drug overdose in the past. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, opioids like heroin and prescription pain medication cause about 60% of these deaths. And so opioids is a big major issue that we face in this field, especially when it comes to the mixture of fentanyl. Have you heard about that? Fentanyl. Fentanyl has caused an increase in the death in our community here in Cumberland County. So we are combating that with what we call knock and talk. Knock and talk is something that we do in the community. All right, it's a wellness check to check on our people. Next one we want to talk about, and that is the role of addiction treatment. The role of addiction treatment. Addiction treatment. All right. Professional addiction treatment is essential for anyone struggling with addiction. With an effective provider, a comprehensive treatment plan, and adequate time in treatment, and ongoing support, you can establish a sober lifestyle and maintain your sobriety. Addiction treatments take place in a variety of settings, intensities, and duration suited to your needs, right? From highly structured and long-lasting inpatient and residential programs to less intensive short-term outpatient options. Addiction treatment will encourage you to focus on the role of people, places, and things in your addiction and recovery. So this is so key and so vital, the role of addiction treatment, especially when it comes to professional people. I am a recovery coach. I'm not a counselor. So you need residential treatment, whether it be short term or long term. We recommend you go see a counselor, a therapist, and if you need continual care, a sponsor, etc., etc. Professional help is so important. Do not be afraid of. Please do not believe that these people in the professional field is because they may not have used drugs that they don't have the knowledge or the capability to assist in treatment. All right, let's move on to the next one, man. We ain't gonna take up too much time, Giovanni. Identifying your triggers. Let's talk about it. Identifying your triggers. It's not enough to limit the negative elements in your life. You must actively seek out positive experiences, right? Activities and people. At the onset, treatment will involve creating a working list of your triggers. The list will contain every person, place, and thing you associate with substance use. The process of creating this list can be stressful and overwhelming, as even thinking about a trigger can create strong craving for the drug. A professional can guide you through this process of discovery in a safe and comfortable way to reduce risk of relapse. Also, they can challenge you to look deeper into your addiction or help you discover your personal triggers by naming people, places, and things that frequently trigger others. All right. And so I was in the therapeutic community, and it had a three-phase. I often tell this story. And one of the things that we went through orientation, that's the beginning stage, then main treatment, that's the medium, the middle stage, and we went through reentry stage. And so one of the things that it was a residential program for peer related. And so Giovanni, one of the things exercises that we used to do, it was called, not man, it was called core belief. That's what it was called. It was called core belief. And one of the things with core beliefs we used to do was we used to look at some of the people, places, and things, place all these people, places, things on one side of the board. This is exercise, right? People, places, and things, where it was at, what time it took place, who was there, what was the outcome, right? And then on the other side, we did the same thing. But on one side, the first part we wrote on the negative consequences, things that took place. Then on the other side, we did a comparison from a positive perspective. How would we have overcome the negative if we were to use proper tools? And so you see where I'm going. Basically, it's like a scale. If you ever looked at a scale that balances things, and so you weigh the pros and the cons. So if I don't drink today, I'm going to have clarity. I'm going to be able to be alert. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be healthy. But if I drink, I may go get in an accident. I may harm myself or harm somebody else. See what I'm saying? So I want to say that. So that was part of the exercise. It was called core belief. All right. And so let's deal with the last one. Let's deal with the last one, Giovanni, and that is coping with triggers. All right. And it says coping with triggers. Once your list is established, you can transition to the next stage, coping with triggers. Therapists will teach you skills including the following: avoidance. If a person, place, or thing makes you want to use, avoid it. Stay away when possible. Talking about it. By discussing the triggers when they're present and how they make you feel in a supportive setting. You begin to take control back from the trigger, going with it. Cravings come and go, and fear only makes the feeling stronger. Rather than seeing triggers as scary stimuli, this strategy views triggers and cravings as temporary problems that can be overcome with time and patience. By changing your interaction with the people, places, and things that produces craving, you will be able to limit their power over you by staying aware of what affects you most and learning coping tools. you'll be able to maintain your sobriety more easily. All right. And so that's going to do it for this week. And so, as always, tune in. We have more groups. Go on to our page. And if you love what you heard, please contact us. Let us know. Please share, like, subscribe. Let people know out there in virtual land that we do have a group, a meeting going on Tuesday. This one is called Coffee and Conversation. So today we was talking about the impact of people, places, and things in addiction during our Coffee and Conversation time today. And so, as always, feel free to contact us here at 856-391-7449 or 1-800-236-2448. And as always, how can we help you with your recovery today? And most of all, what does your recovery means to you? And for now, until next time, take care. My name is Craig.